Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Grind My Gears with me, Sergeant Geek. And today, we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people are confused about. The AR-15. Now, the AR-15 is an excellent firing platform. It's just a style. AR-15 is a style, just like jeans, sneakers versus shoes, button downs versus polos. An AR-15 is just a style of a type of weapon. Now I have one here. Let me pull it out. This here is an AR-15 platform by Bushmaster. This one's called a Carbon 15. Now the difference between this one and the other ones, this one's primarily made of carbon fiber, except for the internal mechanics and the barrel. Those are actually metal. Can't make those out of carbon fiber because they'll melt. This weapon here weighs about 4 pounds, has a length of 28 inches with the stock fully extended, has a maximum effective range of 555 meters to 600 meters, has a muzzle velocity of 1,750 feet per second, and this one here can actually shoot .223 or 5.56 NATO rounds. It's gas operated. It's an excellent platform. The recoil on this one is reduced a lot, so it makes so you can actually stay on target and actually put rounds in a nice tight shot group and actually be effective versus a lot of the other weapons out there. If you're a person that's actually thinking about getting yourself a firearm, a handgun or a rifle for target shooting or home defense, I recommend an AR-15. It is one of the best platforms out there. Many companies make many different versions of it. The rounds are very inexpensive, and it's, like I said before, it's a very easy weapon to shoot. Now, I'm going to show you a quick video. It's a 3D animation of the actual AR-15 platform, mechanicals inside of actually what happens inside this firearm when you pull the trigger. And you're going to see, you should be on this 3D animation. I haven't checked it in a while. You should see the fully auto version of the trigger mechanism, the 3-round burst mechanism, and the semi-automatic. You should see all three of those versions inside this video here. Hopefully this will give you a little bit of information on how this weapon is and show you it's really not much different than any other firearm out there. So let's go ahead and let's go to the video.
This animation will explain the basic principle of AR-15 style rifles, such as the M16. The standard M16 was equipped with a carrying handle and iron sights. The rear and the front sight could be adjusted with a cartridge to zero the rifle. A low-light level sight system for the M16 was also available. It featured a rear sight with a larger aperture of 7mm and a front sight with radioactive tritium for visible light at night. Newer versions have been equipped with a low light level system and an elevation knob for better targeting. Today, a lot of accessories are available for AR-15 style rifles. Fluted barrels save weight and dissipate heat easily. Let's have a look at the M16's trigger mechanism. Initially, the M16 assault rifle could fire in semi-automatic and fully automatic mode. When in safe mode, the trigger cannot be pulled because of the selector's shape. When the selector is moved to semi-automatic mode, the recess in the bottom of the selector allows the trigger to move when it is pulled. As soon as the trigger is pulled, it releases the hammer. When the bolt carrier pushes down the hammer, the disconnector locks it in place. Before another shot can be fired, the trigger must be released so that the trigger sear engages the hammer again. In fully automatic mode, the trigger can move freely, whereas the disconnector stays at its position. The selector has a recess for the auto sear. The auto sear catches the hammer when the bolt carrier moves backwards. When the bolt carrier moves forward to chamber a new cartridge, the bolt carrier pushes the auto sear forward, releasing the hammer. Now, let's have a look at the bolt carrier. The bolt carrier houses the bolt that has several locking lugs, which are also called bolt lugs, and a cam pin. When the hammer strikes the firing pin is pushed forward. The firing pin hits the bottom of the cartridge, which consists of the case, the propellant, the bullet, and the primer. The case of the cartridge is filled with the propellant. At the bottom of the case is the primer. The primer holds the priming mixture. When the rifle's firing pin strikes the primer cap, the priming mixture explodes, resulting in the ignition of the propellant. The propellant is available in different shapes and mixtures. It is usually smokeless powder that reaches temperatures above 2,000 degrees Celsius. The pressure in the case pushes the bullet out of the case through the barrel to the target with a velocity of around 1 kilometer per second. The gas block and the gas tube connect the barrel with the bolt carrier. Pressure provided by the propellant is transmitted to the bolt carrier. Consequently, it is pushed back. The bolt is unlocked and moved backwards by the bolt carrier by means of the cam pin. The extractor removes the spent case from the chamber, while the spring-loaded ejector ejects it. The buffer spring is compressed and ready to release the stored energy. Consequently, it will push the bolt carrier back to its initial position. The bolt chambers a new cartridge. When the cartridge is fully seated in the chamber, the bolt is locked through the rotation. Let's see it again from another perspective. The bolt pushes the cartridge into the chamber. When the bolt cannot move any further, the bolt carrier rotates the bolt through the cam pin. That way, the firearm can withstand the high pressure created by the propellant when the gun is fired. Let's see again the locking mechanism. In fully automatic mode, the rifle would release the hammer and fire. Because many soldiers would fire in fully automatic mode and waste ammunition, the burst mode was introduced. When the trigger is pulled, only 3 rounds are fired. This is possible through a spring clutch. The diameter of the spring clutch gets smaller or larger according to the direction of the force. So, when the trigger is pulled, the hammer strikes the firing pin. When the hammer is pushed back by the bolt carrier, the disconnector cam rotates thanks to the spring clutch. This is done 3 times until the burst cam follower reaches the stop notch. Because the stop notch is deeper, the disconnector holds back the hammer, so the trigger must be released to fire again. Let's see it again from the side view. The civilian AR-15 can only fire in semi-automatic mode. It does not have parts and recesses needed for fully automatic firing. Furthermore, the lower receiver does not have room for the auto-sear, and only a full auto bolt carrier can trip the auto-sear. The M16 and other AR-15 style rifles usually use direct impingement to cycle the action. So, when the bolt carrier moves backwards, residue can enter the upper receiver and other parts. This gunshot residue can become a big problem when the rifle is not cleaned regularly. Let's have a look at the upper receiver. When the rifle is not cleaned regularly, deposits can be found on the walls of the firearm's upper receiver over time. This can lead to increased friction between the upper receiver and the bolt carrier, so that the bolt carrier gets stuck and a new cartridge cannot be chambered. Here, the forward assist can help. Pushing the forward assist plunger will move the bolt carrier forward, thanks to the notches. This can be done until the bolt is locked and the rifle is ready to fire. Flash hiders are common on military rifles. Flash suppressors hide the flash so that the soldier is not blinded in low-light shooting conditions. They do this by dispersing the burning gases so that they cool much faster. When the magazine is empty, the spring-loaded magazine follower, which pushes the cartridges to the top of the magazine, pushes up the bolt catch. By this, the bolt catch locks the bolt. The operator can change the magazine by pressing the magazine catch. Pushing the bolt catch will release the bolt. The firearm is ready to fire. Manually charging the gun is also possible. The charging handle allows the operator to move the bolt carrier to the rear. Releasing it will chamber a new cartridge.
Alright guys, you saw the video. Like I said, for a rifle, this is one of the best ones. That's one of the reasons why the military actually use this firearm, because it's such a great platform. It can be used and can be set up many different ways, variations, so you can get it perfect for you and your style of shooting. Now I'm going to show you another weapon here. This weapon is one of my personal weapons as well. This here is in 1911. This 1911 here is made by Rock Island. This one goes for about $500. 1911s, to me, they're not that popular right now with a lot of people, but at one point these were the most popular firearms. They got 1911s from Remington, Colt, and many other companies that actually range in price anywhere from the Rock Island 500 to the Colts and Remingtons to about $2,300 to $3,000. Now, I've actually fired some of those Remingtons and Colts at the range. I don't really see a difference from them from my firearm. My firearm I paid $500 for. I've actually paid about $40-50 for the compensator in the front, which actually helps me with the recoil lift to keep the barrel on target. And I have what they call a tactical grip. Now, as you can see here, this grip goes all the way around the trigger housing and actually sets up a rail system right underneath the barrel. That actually, so I can attach a flashlight or a laser on the front of my weapon. This weapon shoots 45 auto, keeps about 8 rounds in a clip, and I usually carry, when I carry this with me, I usually carry 2 to 3 clips with me. Why do I like this 1911 versus, say, a Glock? I do like the Glocks. Glocks are a very good gun. I used to actually carry a Glock, but I like the 1911 for the size. Surely for the size, because I'm a big guy. I can handle a bigger gun, a full size. I do not need a compact. As big as I am, I can actually conceal a full size handgun on my persons with no problem very easily. I like 45 auto. 45 auto rounds is a big round. It's a lot of stopping power behind it. I'd rather have stopping power than multiple rounds of, say, 9mm. That's my preference. Many other people have many different preferences, especially when it comes to law enforcement. I searched the internet, checking out the different variants in firearms, and there are some law enforcement that carry 40 caliber firearms. A lot of them carry 45, and you got a few out there that carry 9mm. And they all have different reasons of why they carry it. Some like the bigger round for the stopping power. The guys with the smaller rounds, they like it because they can carry a large capacity of ammo for different instances. There's a lot of instances you go online and look, you can see where cops really needed the extra ammo, and when they carried the 45, they just didn't have it, so they switched over to 9mm. That's their preference. Whatever works for you, you decide. I'm not going to tell you which firearm you should get and which firearm you shouldn't get. I'm just going to let you know what I like. Now, I have a 3D animation of this one here as well to show you actually how this one works. So let's go ahead, go to the clip.
In this video, we will explain how handguns and pistols work. Let's take a look at the most important parts. The slide is located in the upper part of the weapon. The hammer spur is often called simply hammer. The slide houses the firing pin, on which the hammer spur hits when the trigger is pressed. A crucial part of the gun is the barrel. Pulling the trigger will fire the gun through the movement of the sear. For this, the hammer strut plays an important role. Let us now take a close look at the individual phases. If the pistol is uncocked and unloaded, the slide must first be moved back by hand to cock the pistol. When the slide is moved backwards by hand, the hammer is cocked. The sear engages the hammer. Let's wind back and look again at the sear and how it engages the hammer. When the slide is pushed backwards, it pushes the barrel backwards too. This will allow the cartridge to slide easily into the barrel. The recoil spring is under tension. The hammer is under tension through the hammer strut. As soon as the slide is released, the tension recoil spring pushes the slide forward. The slide takes the cartridge with it and pushes it into the gun barrel. The hammer remains cocked thanks to the sear. The gun barrel returns to its initial position. The gun is now loaded and cocked. The grip safety prevents the gun from firing. Only when the gun's grip is grasped by the hand, the trigger can move the disconnector, and thus, the sear. Let's see it again from the side view, with the firing pin. When the firing pin hits the primer, it ignites the propellant. The projectile starts to spin because of the lands and grooves cut into the barrel to provide a stable trajectory. Once again from a different camera perspective. After the propellant has been ignited, the projectile moves forward and the slide is pushed back by the pressure. Consequently, the case is ejected and a new cartridge is fed into the barrel. The hammer is automatically cocked. As soon as the trigger is released, the gun can be fired again. Let us take another close look at this. The hammer hits the firing pin, and ignites the propellant. This causes the slide to move backwards and pushes the disconnector downwards, so that it releases the sear. Thus, the sear can engage the hammer. When the trigger is released, the disconnector slides between the trigger and the sear. Now, the gun can be fired again.
Alright guys, as you can see, you saw the clip, you saw how it works. Now that's pretty much standard in every handgun, except for a few variations that are in the 1911 as opposed to a Smith & Wesson, a H&K, or a Glock. But that's how the 1911 shoots, no real biggie. Now, I want to show you something here that people might think is tactical as well. Alright, looks big and scary. Ooh, looks dangerous. Might hurt somebody. Well, actually, this here is a BB gun. Looks scary, looks dangerous. I know if a law enforcement officer saw a kid out there shooting one of these, he'd probably get in trouble. Probably scared the bejesus out of law enforcement. But this is a high-powered pellet gun. And the difference between this and a shotgun is loading and the amount of shot per trigger. This actually shoots, this pellet gun here can, with a certain type of pellet, can actually go up to about 2,500 feet per second. A shotgun, the 12-inch shell, the 12-gauge shotgun, when it fires, maximum velocity on a shotgun, on a 12-gauge shotgun, maximum round, you're looking at it anywhere between 1,800 to 1,900 feet per second. This shoots harder than a 12-gauge. But a 12-gauge will put dozens of BBs down the range. This one only puts them one at a time. And this is a muzzle brake. So as you can see, as you open it up to place your pellet, does not shoot BBs, only shoots pellets, you actually cock it. Now, once you place it in there, it's loaded. This one actually has a scope. Doesn't really shoot that far. It may be a little bit more powerful than a shotgun, but doesn't have any effective range other than a shotgun. It's pretty much the same effectiveness. This is what they call the squirrel killer. A lot of people, I've heard them call squirrel killers. This is something I keep in the house just for target practice around out in the open field. when I can't get to the range. My son likes to shoot off with it. My neighbor's kids, they've taken a couple of shots with it. It's harmless, and it's a great way if you actually have somebody in the house that actually owns firearms, or you want looking to get somebody into firearms. It's a great way to get them started into actually learning how to aim. Alright. Now, I do have a lot of tactical gear, and I have a lot of tactical weapons, and I'm going to make a video on that. Keep an eye out. I'm going to do another video here soon. Show you how I set up my tactical vest, my tactical equipment, and show you a few other weapons and gadgets that I have for me. And hopefully, if you're the type of person out there that's into this kind of stuff, it'll give you some ideas. You can bounce them around with your friends, maybe critique your own gear. If not, if you're the type of person that's first time watching this video and never had any of this tactical gear, might be something to consider to have around the house. Now, I keep all my tactical gear for one specific reason. I live out in Texas. I live in Houston. Houston, we have a lot of hurricanes. We have a lot of emergencies, natural disasters. So, if it comes down to it where I need to protect my home because of somebody's trying to break in because of a natural disaster, I can defend myself. Two, a lot of my tactical and equipment is set up as first responder. I actually have some medical equipment. I've been like I told you in a couple of previous videos, I've been actually teaching myself a little bit more on the medical side of these medical gadgets that I can actually purchase online for private use. This way, if a natural disaster happens where one of my neighbors or somebody is injured, and I have the equipment to help them or save their life, I actually know how to use it, and I can actually apply it to them and possibly save their life or save somebody else's life. That's another good reason to have a lot of tactical gear around, because a lot of it does pertain to medical use. Alright guys, that's the end of this video right here. I'm going to put a link to my Facebook page. On my Facebook page, there is a contest that I'm actually doing for you viewers out there. It starts December 1st and it runs all the way to December 31st. Now, the way the contest is, I cannot actually post it on any of my YouTube videos. So it's on my Facebook page. There's a link in the description below. I'm going to actually send you a link to that. The official rules for the contest are in there, and the link to the contest itself where you can actually sign up, win yourself some prizes, and hopefully be a chance for me to give back to you guys. Once again, this is Sergeant Geek, and I'm signing off.